community wants is to be heard and to feel like they're being heard. So that's what I would think that you want. And I know talking to farmers, that's a particular issue for them, and they're hoping to improve that with the draft agricultural policy. And that's my time.
Thank you very much, Lisa. I should just clarify, it's a maximum of 2 minutes the candidates have. They don't have to speak for the whole time. So, thank you. Lisa Bell, are you ready to speak?
Oh, okay. Thanks for coming, everyone. My name's Lisa. I've lived in the Shire for about 10 years with my young family. In recent years, I've really strongly advocated for infrastructure upgrades and planning decisions that meet the needs of our community. Since moving to Cowarumup, I left my office job and I studied horticulture at TAFE. I now run my own gardening business throughout the Shire, so I'm getting a really good feel for what's happening on the ground, and I have a really wide variety of clients, so people from the NDIS all the way through to some quite wealthy commercial properties and homeowners. So I'm starting to understand how this Shire ticks. I also volunteer coaching basketball and working with the footy clubs and have established a community group as well. I have over 14 years experience working in planning for the state government. So through that, I understand how government works, how planning works, and how we need to advocate and fight for our Shire and for our community. My priorities are meaningful community engagement and transparent decision making, protecting what makes this place special, supporting local businesses and recreational opportunities, sustainable housing, timely infrastructure provision, and effective advocacy. And I think that's bang on. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It's not a competition, but thank you. Okay, Pam, are you ready to go? Go for it.
Hi, I'm Pam Winter. I live in Augusta and I've been in the Shire for nearly 30 years. I've lived and worked in Cowarumup, and I've got and Gracetown and Margaret River as well, and worked my way down to Augusta, where I run a fully off-grid, unique tourism offering in a marine situation. So I'm pretty dedicated to our waterways and our rural and regional lifestyle. I understand we need to find a balance between tourism, community and agri, and I want to come on the Shire and assist with the transition of the massive shift of culture in our community that's happened in the last 5 years or so. So I'm a rower, I'm a team player, I am a listener, I'm a singer, I'm in a couple of choirs, I volunteer on the local radio station, and we've been able to revitalise that. We're looking at our 20-year anniversary in a couple of years. And I've been able to find out what's going on a little bit in Shire through my interviews with the councillors and community members. So I hope I can bring an active listening ear and make sure that all of those outer voices from Nillup and Rosa Glen and the bottom of the ridge and up to, Metch Cup. I lived up in Williabrup as well. Sound like I've been all over the place, but actually been in Augusta for 25 years. So I hope to represent you.
Thanks a lot, Pam. Greg, to bring us home for the first block of 4, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, thank you, Rob. Hi, I'm Councillor Greg Boland. Thanks very much for coming along tonight. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Wurundjeri people, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. I'm running again for council because I've always been dedicated to serving my community, and it's been a privilege and honour to have served on the council for the last 2 years for a wonderful community. I have contributed to a strong and stable council in that time, and I think that's really what a community needs. I'm particularly passionate about issues of environment, sustainability and community. I'm a member of a number of groups, Nature Conservation, Environment Centre, Community Centre, Tennis Club, Rowing Club, Radio Margaret River, Men's Shed. I'm a lawyer with a long career in the community legal sector that's helping those most in need. Currently working 1 day a week at a community legal centre, which gives me plenty of time to devote to my role as a councillor. I do bring a lot of energy and diligence to that work, and I make myself very available for whatever is required. I particularly make a point of being accessible and accountable to people. I have extensive experience as a councillor. I've served 3 terms previously. I've contributed on this council by us getting on with major issues like the finalisation local planning scheme, amongst other things. The many things we've done, we've completed the strategic community plan. I'm pleased we established the advocacy committee, which I serve on, because we effectively need to make our case for better services and funding from the state and federal governments. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. So, having heard from the first 4 candidates on the ballot, now we'll hear some responses to some questions that have come in. Donna and Claire have been doing a lot of work collating them all, and what we're going to do now is we're going to ask the first question to 4 candidates that I'm going to just randomly pick. We're going to so Amanda doesn't feel like last off the rank. We'll get you to answer the first question that comes up, Amanda. You'll have 1.5 minutes to respond. So, over to you.
What do you think is the hardest part of being a member of council, and how will you deal with this obstacle?
That was the hardest part, was it? The hardest or the highest part?
Hardest. What is the hardest part of being a member of council?
The hardest part, I would assume, having not been on council before, will be making sure that consultation, a wide and varied amount of consultation is sought on all matters moving forward, particularly with planning, and so that we can understand in depth not just our perspective or our personal perspective of what's required, but educate ourselves so that we're making a decision based for this generation, for now, what works now and what works in the future, so that we can plan successfully and not and be dedicated and with great integrity, making sure that those decisions that are made are held to high regard, not just for now. I think that would be pretty hard.
Thank you very much, and short of the time as well. Let's tic-tac over to the other side. Lisa, would you like to respond to the question about what you think the hardest parts... I'm sorry, not Lisa Bell, Lisa McCusker. It's hard when they sit in the same line of sight. Lisa McCusker, would you like to respond to the question about what you think the hardest part would be being on council?
I think the hardest part of being on the council will be just trying to really listen to all the different perspectives and try and actually come up with solutions that will be the most effective and will be the most in keeping with the community desires. So I think it's a matter of listening to a lot of people, reading all the documents, analysing all the issues and trying to come up with a solution that will actually satisfy all of as many as possible competing interests. That's what I think will be the hardest part.
Thank you. Let's tic-tac back to the other side. Mike, would you like to have a go at answering that question?
Yeah, I think the hardest part will be trying to balance everyone's different opinions. So there's lots of strong opinions on different things in the community, and you do need to hear all of those opinions and then try and figure out how to go forward. Let me just change my glasses. It'll be hard to keep all people happy all the time. So that would be the hardest thing, I would think. Being a first-time councillor or candidate, I think the learning curve as well, and learning the policy and procedures that we have to follow. So I think the community probably thinks the council can do a lot more than it can. So it'll be learning that and then communicating that to the public and to the community. So yeah, I think hearing all the different ideas and strong ideas that people have.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, there'll be a chance for every candidate who doesn't get a chance to respond in writing later, or will have your 2 minutes at the end. Just to mix things up a little bit, I'm going to jump all the way to Tracy at the end. Mixing it up because you are an existing councillor, what would you like to say to that question?
Thank you. I guess there's many facets to it. Personally, it is very difficult to ensure that you are listening to all the different voices, I think, and ensuring that everyone feels heard adequately, because there are limitations on what the Shire as a body can actually achieve. I think for me personally, the thing I found most frustrating is our limited resources. And I guess that's why I'm glad to be chair of the Advocacy Committee, because I feel like we deserve many more resources than we're currently allocated. We've had a huge influx of population in the last 5 to 10 years. We have a huge demands on our infrastructure and services, and we are not getting what we deserve. And I think that is the most frustrating thing that we need to work on, is ensuring that our community does get what they deserve and we're not just a postcard for the state government. So I really strongly believe that is the hardest thing to ensure, and that's a long-term aim and game, and I think that's where we need the whole community behind us to support us, to ensure that we get that support. And I think that's what we can do, and that's about the collaboration of councillors to ensure we're all on the same page to get those services and that infrastructure. Thanks.
Thank you. We're now going to move to a different question. I'm going to pose that to a different 4 candidates. What is the next question?
With so many local homes now used as short-term rentals, how would you work to ensure balance between housing for residents and accommodation for visitors?
Why don't we tic-tac to this side? Lisa Bell, would you like to respond to balancing those 2 issues?
Yeah, this is a really tricky problem, and it's common throughout Australia, particularly beautiful places like Margaret River that are popular tourism destinations. Local government's limited in what it can do, but I think the important thing is to work with other local governments and try and understand and develop a toolkit for different responses. So I know that Byron Bay, has put in a cap on the number of short-term rentals. We already have some limitations. So for large areas within our town sites, you cannot have Airbnbs. So, is it a matter of expanding those boundaries of where you can't have Airbnbs? I don't think that there's going to be a single way to fix that. But yeah, like I say, I think working with other local governments, learning what works and what doesn't work, and develop a number of different options to move forward.
Thanks, Lisa. Back to the other side. Joe, would you like to tell us your thoughts on visitors and locals?
Oh, am I on? There we go. This is a tricky one and probably fairly divisive, so this could win or lose you some votes, I reckon. I'm a bit of a traditionalist and think I would prefer to revert to a bit more of the traditional Airbnb situation where you can't just buy an empty home from Perth and then make it an Airbnb house. So I would like to investigate, not necessarily impose immediately, but investigate just the limitations on which houses or homes can be Airbnbs, because it's swung a long way in that direction, away from long-term local renters and to the short-term accommodation. So ideally having the short stay accommodation on your primary residence, I think is an answer, and it would push a lot of houses back to, or putting limitations on accommodation that isn't on your primary residence, and it might just tip a few places back over that line where it's a little bit easier to just do it long term rather than try and manage it short term, or have only a limited amount of time you can rent it out as a short term rental. I don't know if that made sense, but I know what I'm thinking, but hopefully you understood what I meant.
Thanks, Joe. Pam, did you want to share your thoughts on the short stay versus residential accommodation?
Yeah, it's pretty extreme in Augusta, I can assure you. We've got, we always had, about 65% of our homes were unoccupied, and we've had a big influx of people buying places for Airbnb, and also people moving in to live permanently. So we're working on the ground to deal with housing for our workforce, and using our contacts outside of council to make make creative solutions to that short stay situation. It's a double-edged sword, because there's people that have paid their mortgages by having a room to Airbnb in their house, and then there's this issue of not enough affordable housing for our workforce. So very aware of the extreme case of short stay accommodation across the Shire and the country, and using more creative ground-based solutions for individual situations.
Thank you. Final response on this question, Alex.
Well, it is a very complex matter, and I agree with Lisa. There is not only one solution for that. It needs to be there's different scenarios that needs to be looked at. Margaret River is very seasonal, and you happen to have on school holidays, people come down, everything is full, and there is nothing around. So people do rely on those Airbnb, but then when it's not school holiday, when there is nothing happening and people still want to come down and enjoy, some people do prefer to have an Airbnb instead of supporting other accommodation. And that's where the imbalance starts and becomes a problem. So definitely it's something that needs to be unpacked and have lots of data and find different solutions. There is not one solution fits all.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, we're now going to move to the final question before some more presentations. Ladies, the next question.
This is a two-part question, so I'm happy to repeat it if needed. What is your understanding of agriculture in the Shire, and what is your opinion on land care organisations in the Shire? So your understanding of agriculture in the Shire and your opinion on land care organisations in the Shire.
Continuing my pattern of tic-tacking back and forth, Greg, I believe you're next up.
Thank you. Understanding of agriculture, it's a very wide question, but our community is largely an agricultural area. I know we've got a more mixed economy now, but in the past, very much an agricultural community, and we still are to a large extent. There's a whole range of agricultural pursuits. There's the more traditional dairy and cattle. There's the more recent wine industry. There's a whole range of things there. Now, how that comes up at council, we've had quite a lot of feedback from the agricultural community that they may not have been as heard as they thought they should have been. So we've been active in that space with developing an agricultural policy and a lot of roundtables. There's been a lot of consultation around that. So hopefully we are moving in a better direction to satisfy the agricultural community, that we are listening to them and dealing with their needs. Land care, yes, we are involved in that, particularly the Lower Blackwood land care and what they are doing. That we support them to some extent financially. We had a briefing from them recently which showed how much good work they were doing and putting the money into them so that they could then actually draw further funding to do more good works. Thank you,
Greg. Maxine, would you like to have the question repeated? It is a double banger, so...
No, that's fine, thank you. I am not across agriculture, and I would like to be, but I do also understand, as somebody with a young family who requires food, that the Southwest and this whole entire region can give you everything from wine on the bottom of the ocean floor to venison and lamb. So I'm very supportive of agriculture. My family are farmers in Three Springs. And I do believe that there are loads of community groups within our Shire that are doing great work in pulling out our native species to, working on the ethics of how sustainable farming is operated, and the support that they should be given is tenfold, in my opinion. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you. Julian, you've been waiting patiently for the question. Would you like to address it?
Well, I moved to Margaret River about 33 years ago now, and for the first 20 years of living here, I worked on vineyards and on farms, and I grew up on farms, so I'm quite familiar with agriculture. But Rob told me I could change the question if he asked me something and jumped straight into something else, and I don't know if I should, but I was going to jump into the next question that I've got on my list, which is, what is my opinion of the safer speed trial? Because that's been the thing that's come up the most.
If you'd like, I can make you the first person off the cab of the rank when we come to that question next.
Well, I noticed that we've got the, what do you call it, the general, the program that they've got within regards to how we're going to treat the agriculture and the vineyards as they come forward. And I haven't read that. And I don't think any of us have. We sort of had this question at Augusta on Monday night. And it's the sort of thing that we really have to go through with a fine-tooth comb and analyse once if I get elected and am in council. So it's not something we really comment on without actually reading the information and seeing where the strategic plan is heading. So I will go through that with a fine-tooth comb and then have my say on it. At the moment, it's not something I can really comment on.
Thank you, Julian. We've come to the end of this bunch of questions. I will tic-tac back up the room for the next bunch of questions, but it's now time to continue the opening statements from the candidates, continuing down the line. Greg, the floor is yours for 2 minutes. Yeah. So, Julian, no. It's Julian, is it? Sorry.
Well, now, opening statements, you mean about me?
Anything you would like to say in 2 minutes. It could be about the safer speeds trial if you wish.
Okay, it could be about the safer speed trial. That's been the thing that's come up the most as I've been out canvassing people, I suppose, like just in regards to what everyone wants. Because, as a local who's lived here for the last 30 years, I've seen a lot of crazy things done. Some might refer to them as fiascos at an executive level. And And the safer speed trial is right up there on the very top of the list of things that I feel is so far removed from where we're at as locals in the Shire. And if safety is the real issue, I would go and say some of the things that affect a large amount of people would be finishing the road that runs along the back of Rapids Landing in Brookfield, which is Lesh and Altia Terrace, I think it's called. And I just went up there a week ago just to have a look at what it'd take to finally finish that and take some of the pressure that's off the main road where, because I know people that live there. I don't actually have to deal with trying to get out there in peak hour, but I've seen it. And going up there and having a look, I'm like, well, we could get a few council workers, head up there on the weekend, and a couple of guys with a bulldozer and a few buckets full of tar could finish that 50-metre stretch of road on a weekend. And it's something that's been bandied back and forward for years as a local. And it's one of those things we just need to finish because it's a safety issue. The people in Rapids and Brookfield will tell you every day that we've got to finish that bit of road. And it's the little things like that that I intend to work on as a councillor. Thanks.
Thank you, Julian. So next up, we'll cross the floor over to Tracy. The floor is yours for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Tracy. Thanks so much for coming tonight. It's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you and share a little bit about myself. I lived here for nearly 20 years. I met my husband here. I'm raising my family here. I've owned and run a family farming business. I've worked in conservation and I've worked in schools across the whole Shire. And during that time, I volunteered for various community organisations, environment groups, sporting groups. I think, like many people who've lived here for a long time, we're a member of every tiny group. And as our children move through different ages, we're a part of every group too. So I feel a depth of gratitude to the people and the landscape here. And I'm really committed to working for this community and this place. I've travelled to many places, and to me, this place is somewhere special and it's really worth protecting. And I guess that's why I want to be on council, to continue that work. I've been honoured to serve for 4 years, and for half of that as the deputy. And I've worked really hard to protect our unique natural environment. And I really care about getting the services and the infrastructure that our community needs. I'm running for council because I do bring a unique set of experience and skills, and that takes quite a long time to develop. There's a lot of intricacies and bureaucracy to being on council, and I feel like it takes a little while, and now I understand how some of that works, and I'd really like to continue the work and advocate for our community to get what we deserve. I really want to continue to protect what we love about our environment and our lifestyle. I want to advocate for more investment in our schools, particularly our high school, which is bursting at the seams with 1,200 students there, and it's actually made for 800 students. For our hospital, it's just not right what's going on at the moment at the hospital, and that can't continue. Also, our health services and our farmers. We talked briefly about farmers. Really, they are at the backbone of what makes Margaret River, this region, and we need to support them. I also want to push for better housing. There's many different prongs to how we ensure that we get social housing and affordable housing, and we need to work on that. Water security.
One more sentence, please.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I can go on a little bit. But thank you. I really am also about building a connected community. We've got something special here, and we need to make that happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Maxine, over to you.
That's very good, Tracy. Okay, so my name is Maxine. I am from Augusta. I travelled here tonight in a carpool scenario with Pam, so we shared the drive. I relocated to Augusta, from Victoria Park about 4 years ago. Basically because my husband decided he was going to work in Antarctica and I wanted to be closer to him. So there you have it. I run my own successful business in town. I employ 8 mums. We are very busy in the school holidays because I manage short stay accommodation. I believe in the importance of contributing to my community, and I am, again, a busy mum with 3 kids across football, CWA and other things in town, Augusta Community Development. And I don't tend to go too far from Augusta, so I am not across everything across the Shire because I haven't had to be. But I am very good at reading. I don't do Netflix. I sit at night with a cup of tea and read documents, normally around short stay. And I do promote sustainable development within our community because I have recently changed all of our products and things to more sustainable ecotourism. So that's something that I'm really passionate about. Furthermore, I'm dedicated to expanding opportunities for the kids in our community. We recently had our landing dock to the swimming pool closed, so that is a big thing for my children. It's where they learn to swim and be safe around the water, so that is something that's very passionate to me. I have long served to be on the Shire of some form of council. I didn't run in Vic Park because my friend beat me to it. So here I am, ready to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxine. Alex, can you bring us home on this last, second block of presentations?
Hello, my name is Alex. I lived in Margaret River for the past 15 years with my wife and my two kids. So I've seen this town changing a lot and very fast in the past years. I own 3 local businesses here in the Shire, 2 in Margaret River and 1 in Quaramap. I am an executive member of business network of Margaret River and the one in Quaramap. I'm running because I think it's time that the Shire back a little bit the business a bit more and not just bury us in red tape. And when I say local businesses, I start from farmers first and then to shop owners. After all, we are the one keeping this town alive. We employ local, we sponsor clubs, events, and we support local families. So it'd be nice if the Shire showed some support back and actually make it a little bit easier to do business here. I mean, I just want to see the town buzzing, like with events, markets, and all those things that brings people together. I will also advocate for thoughtful development, faster planning, practical and alternative housing models, and I'll advocate for an upgraded hospital, which is very, 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 very in need, and more opportunities for our young people and for the safety of our town. Of course, they have some responsible spending that reflects the community priorities. Also, it's very important for me, not just to throw money around. That's what I stand for. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Right, let's hear the candidates answer some more questions from the community. Donna.
What is your opinion on the Safer Speeds trial?
As I said, I'm going to tic-tac from the back to the front. We'll start with Tracy, please.
Lovely. I understand people's frustration. My husband has been in my ear about it for a long time, about certain roads. And I think the key is it's a trial. It's a 3-year trial, and it's really important. I have been a volunteer and I've spoken to ambulance volunteers who've been to car crashes and they've seen the impacts of speed. And I don't think anyone wants someone in their family to suffer from car accidents or even serious injury. the ramifications and the lifetime effects of that in comparison to maybe 30 seconds longer on some roads, I really think we need to think about what our priorities are. To me, it's to make sure that everyone's child gets home safely. That's really important. Now, it is a trial, and I know, Cowbay Road, there's been talk about that particularly. Maybe that does need to be adjusted. There will be a consultation process happening next year. That's where it's really important. All of those opinions can be put together and we can analyse what's the best way forward. But I voted on council to support the trial. We did not pay for it. RAC paid for it, which is fantastic. Why not take up that much money to put in new signs to ensure our community's safer? I'm really proud that we've got a community where we say, yeah, our lives are really important and we're all willing to actually be a little bit inconvenienced to ensure that we're safer. I can't see a problem with it.
Thank you, Tracy. Over to this side. Julian, you've already said something about safer speeds. Would you like to say anything more?
Well, normally I agree with Tracy on most things. I voted for her in the last election and I've known her for a lot of years, but I disagree on this particular thing because 3 years isn't a trial. 3 years is more like some kind of bizarre dystopian experiment. And I feel like that we as locals are the ones that are being experimented on. Yes, we're all for safety, and there are areas where speed limits could be modified. Around the schools, main streets in town, yes. But if we're really serious about safety, then we need to actually focus on the areas that are dangerous. Now, in my job as a delivery driver, I'm out and about on the roads all the time, and I get to see the areas where the bottlenecks occur around town, and the areas where almost daily there's almost accidents. And for me, the most dangerous part of town is coming out of Rapids Landing at school o'clock. Like coming through that area and coming out of Brookfield. And I've got friends that live in Brookfield and live in Rapids, and they just tell me it's madness. And so if we're serious about safety, we need to do little things like finish the road up the back of Rapids. We don't need to go around messing with every speed limit around the entire Shire and creating havoc in the local community when people need to get from A to B. And a lot of those speed limits are acceptably safe as it is.
Thank you. And I want to thank both Tracy and you for disagreeing so civilly on this. It's what I asked you to do at the beginning, so thank you very much. Maxine, would you like to talk about safe speed trial?
I'm sure. Or to maybe just repeat what I said the other night. I'm all for safety as well. I do believe that, our kids should be able to transit. I also believe that there should be more emphasis put on leaving your car at home and maybe riding a bike or walking. We don't have great public transport in the southwest, but, you can still get on a bike and ride, but then maybe our footpaths and our scenarios for that aren't so safe. So, it's a catch-22. The speed trial thing will get the EV drivers because your update won't come through until it is a confirmed thing. So watch your speed limit on your Tesla, or if you put it into cruise control, it'll still tell you that it's 50 unless you go past the sign and it reads it. So there's your little tip.
Thank you. Now, Greg, I know you're expecting to answer this because I've been tic-tacking back and forward, but these are some questions we asked in Augusta, and I'm trying to not only ask similar questions, but also change up the people who get to directly answer it. So, Greg, I'm not going to go to you this time. I'm actually going to go to Alex just to keep people on their toes. Alex?
Are we still going about the speed trial?
Please.
Look, I wasn't super happy because I got fined myself. So, well, first I inquired. I actually had a meeting with our Shire president, and she took the time to take me through the whole thing, the process that happened and everything. It's not perfect because, of course, it's a trial. So, yes, there needs to be few changes, few adjustments in some area. Alone, I can't do anything. So just make sure you put your feedback in, and let's make it a right one. Like, we want safety. We don't want to go 40 km per hour on Basel Highway, but let's find the right balance, and it's a process. So we have few ways to say our feedback. Let's use it. So it's just too easy to just ignore it and then whinge afterwards. So be proactive from the beginning, and we will have a safer place for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. It's time for a new question.
Also happy to repeat this one because it's a long one. What do you see as the importance and benefit of restoring and conserving heritage sites and buildings within the Shire? For example, the old hospital heritage precinct.
So, Greg, I'm going to impose upon you to answer this one. So it's, did you need it repeated?
Yeah,
Yeah, it is
thanks.
quite long. And
Yep.
What do you see as the importance and benefits of restoring and conserving heritage sites and buildings within the Shire? For example, the old hospital heritage precinct.
Right. Yes. No, thanks for the question. It is something that I'm quite passionate about. Having a former council that I was on, there was a lot of heritage issues came up. And to some extent, it hasn't been as much here as I thought it would be. But we do have so much important heritage that we do have to retain and enhance. So the hospital precinct is a beautiful collection of older buildings and well used at the moment. The controversy there is around how to pay for upkeeping buildings like that, and so that's something we're trying to work through with the community centre. I'm quite passionate about the old settlement area that we I would really like to see that enhanced. There's money in a reserve that I have been agitating a bit to activate and haven't been successful so far, but that's definitely one on my agenda. Otherwise, when the old goods shed came up recently, we moved to put some money into that to preserve that. So yeah, very important, and yes, I really want to do something about it in my time on council.
Thank you, Greg. Joe, the question's about heritage issues, in particular the hospital area.
I'm not really an expert in this field as such, and I don't know the particulars of a lot of the different bits and pieces, but if you've read my profile, you would see that one of my major concerns is some of the kind of loss of identity of the town from when I was a kid here, and just sort of wanting to cling as much as we can to the things that make this town beautiful. And I think the heritage buildings and the heritage areas are a huge part of that. So I'm supportive of trying to hold on to those parts. We're getting sort of developed out in a lot of those areas, and they don't hold a lot of financial value sometimes, so they get replaced with new shiny things. But I think it's a big part of our history, and I would like to see certainly those important areas maintained. Old hospital and the old settlement are two obvious ones, that they've been the same ever since I can remember, or largely. So I think, yeah, we would want to hold on to those.
Thank you, Joe. Pam, what's your response to the question?
Well, it's all about how many assets we've got and what we've got to do. You know, how do we find the money to keep all those balls in the air? Because lots of those assets were gifted to the Shire, like built, and this is also an issue in Augusta. They were built by the community and handed over to the Shire to manage, and all of a sudden the Shire has this massive range of things built for them that they've somehow all of a sudden got to juggle and find all the money to maintain everything. We've got a very diverse shire here, and it's spread out. It's not like a urban centre, it's an outer regional centre. It's diverse, and there's a lot of activities and assets that are hammering on the Shire's purse to fix. So what do you do? Do you pick one? Do you sacrifice another? You know, do you do half a job? It's a challenging question, and definitely have personal connection to that hospital precinct, being the first care for my daughter when I moved down here as a single mum. So I would love to see that maintained, but I'd say it's got to be in balance with all the other assets that the Shire's been vested with to manage.
Thank you, Pam. Mike, can you give the final comment on this question?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we keep them. I mean, I'd hate us to get any more generic. I wouldn't go and visit a town with all its big box shops and that sort of thing. So activating the old buildings is really important to keep the character of the places. I live in Witchcliff, so we've tried really hard down there to keep the buildings and activate buildings that weren't being used. So we've started Marmalade, a small shop down there, and that's using the old CWA building that hadn't been used for many, many years and potentially could have been demolished. It's now being used thanks to the Shire, helping to get that up and going. We obviously worked with them. And it's loved by the community now and creates a real space for people to come and see. And the tourists are loving coming to Witchcliff now and seeing something different, not just the same everywhere. The Druids Hall is the same down in Witchcliff as well. So apparently that was slated to be demolished. The local community said, no, we don't want to do that. So now when you get to this town now, there's these older buildings. So I think it's really important. I hear what everyone's saying about maintaining the buildings, but I think we just keep looking at ways to do that, whether it's community or through rental and things like that.
Thank you. One more question from the community for the remaining 3 candidates. What's the question?
What is your position on the proposed Narrabeen resort?
Amanda, would you like to start?
I came a little prepared. I did think this was going to be coming up. The question, Donna, was my position.
What is your position on the proposed Narrabeen resort?
This kind of leads into my answer previously in what I felt might be hard as a councillor, because what my personal position on some of these bigger matters is not really what's important. What will be important for us as a community is what consultation and collective input from everybody from the town prescribes, and that we can come together as a robust council and make a good decision for the future. So yes, personally, I have the bushfire risk and safety access via single road is of high concern for me. Infrastructure, waste and environmental hazards with the wastewater systems at capacity leakage treatment, risk of runoff or pollution into the sensitive marine and coastal environments. In balance interests, though, environmental impact studies need to be rigorous, up-to-date, peer-reviewed and with full transparency. Strong monitoring enforcements of conditions, robust bushfire planning, considerations of erosion risk, sea level rising and climate change, infrastructure capacity to handle the increased load in the area, and genuine consultation with the TOs, ensuring site is preserved and respected.
Take a breath. Thank you. Lisa Bell, would you like to respond to the Narrabeen question?
Yes. I don't have a really, really detailed, thorough understanding of that proposal. But it is really difficult to overstate how important the coastline is and how important it is to protect it. Also, the Shire, we also need to be aware that the Shire is not going to be the decision maker on this proposal. So the Shire's role is to advocate very strongly for its community. So that is listening to the community and making sure that we are providing really solid, strong advocacy at the right stages of the planning process. So we need to be really clever with how we provide that advice and how we engage with the community. I have been disappointed with the way that the Shire has consulted with the community, engaged with the community and represented it on other proposals that I've been involved in. That's why I'm running for council. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. Lisa McCusker.
Thank you. This proposal has been polarising, I think, not just for the Narrabeen community, but for the entire Shire. It's one of the issues that's come up frequently with a number of people I've spoken to, and it was one of the first things I actually got asked about when I nominated. I think it's very difficult because you've got a plan where you're allowed to do development, and so if you actually stop all development, you have a huge problem with compensation litigation. So it's a very complex issue. I don't think, given the amount of community concern and about the various issues which have obviously been already gone through, there's a myriad of them. I personally would see that the development as proposed I wouldn't agree with, but the point is it won't really be something that the Shire gets to decide anyway, so I'm not sure what you can do about it except advocate on behalf of the community to the state government. That seems to be really the only thing that you can do at this stage.
Thank you. So, folks, we are nearing the back end of the forum tonight. We're going to hear from the final candidates with their presentations, and then there's going to be one more question. And then we're going to thank you all and allow you to mix with the candidates individually if you like. But let's move on to the final candidates. Joe, over to you.
Good evening. My name's Joe Forte. I live in Witchcliffe with my wife and my 2 teenage daughters. First moved here in 1991 as a schoolboy. I have lived elsewhere, but it's always been a home base for me. I went to school here. I have raised a family here, and I fully intend to retire here if I can. I'm guessing you've all read our profiles. You're here, interested enough to be here, so you probably read our profiles. During this campaign process, I've had feedback that my profile was very focused on my community work, which is sort of where my heart lies a lot, and I had skipped over my professional background because I've sort of somewhat left it behind, but I thought I'd fill in those blanks. So after school, I went and got a degree in communications, which was a lot of media studies, but also a lot of units in things like sociology and anthropology and cultural studies, somewhat unknowingly speaking to an interest I've carried ever since in people and community. I then, I did multiple things, but for most of the past 15 years, I worked in recruitment for mining and construction. So my job was literally 10 hours a day speaking to people, hearing their issues and finding solutions. Thankfully, I've left that job behind. I was quite good at it, but I didn't particularly enjoy it. I've also built, run and sold a small business in town here. It still runs to this day. So I have experience with all the highs and lows of business ownership in Margaret River and all the challenges that comes with that. I'm running out of time. I mean, that's basically me. My heart lies in the community, lots of volunteering, that sort of stuff. But I do bring business, large business and small business experience and a real passion for community and strong community values. So that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Mike, the mic is yours.
Thanks very much. Hello, my name's Mike Bloxham and I'm 49 years old. I live in Witchcliffe with my partner Narelle, who's a nurse practitioner in Augusta and Margaret River. I was born in Perth and moved to the region full-time 19 years ago. Growing up, I lived in the country and moved around as my dad worked in a bank. We lived in Jerramunga, Pemberton and Carnarvon. Employment. I've had a very varied job history filled by some great people, and I hope that experience will help me connect with the whole community. It's given me a broad understanding of many industries and the people who work in them. In Margaret River, I've worked at the hospital, Lewin Estate, Mr Barvell and the post office. I now currently work part-time for the local tourism association while also helping to run our small retail business, Marmalade, in Witchcliffe. I was on the committee of the Margaret River Tennis Club for many years and coordinated the men's Thursday night comp and club championships. I'm standing for council to get involved. I don't want to be another voice constantly criticising the Shire and saying they're not doing it right. I don't believe this is the case, and so I hope to be elected to get involved in the discussion to try and communicate to people how things happen. I hope to bring the difficulties and challenges of all the many people in the community to the awareness of council and the Shire. My key values would be job creation, environmental management with a focus on community access and infrastructure. Creating employment is key. It provides money to survive, but it provides much, much more than that. So policies that stimulate employment are very important. My personal values are probably based around all going forward together. I guess to sum up my values in simple words is we're all in this together and be kind. Thanks for coming along tonight and getting involved. I really believe this region is second to none. Let's keep it great and all go forward together. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Amanda, over to you.
Thank you. Sorry. Evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Ireland and I'm running for council because I care deeply about our community, the people, the environment and the future that we are building together. I live and have worked in this region. I've actually worked for this Shire the whole time I worked in the region, so I know the goings-on of this building. And I've seen firsthand both challenges and the opportunities that come with growth. My background is in the early childhood sector, teaching and community advocacy, and I've also owned and operated a small family business. That mix of experience has given me a really practical understanding of what it takes to make things work for families, for youth, older residents, for local businesses and for the wider community. Having worked with many children who are now the youth of our community, I feel a deep responsibility to listen to them as our future leaders. I'm committed to supporting initiatives that strengthen youth wellbeing, education and employment pathways, and to making sure their voices are genuinely heard. I'm passionate about equity and access, about ensuring people with disabilities are included, and that services meet the needs of everyone, especially those who might be underrepresented. Mental health, community health and overall wellbeing are key focus areas for me. I've trained in safe talk, suicide prevention, trauma-informed practices and the UN Convention on the Rights of the Young Children, particularly in safety. And I bring both skill and compassion to supporting vulnerable community members. I also believe that grassroots sport, recreation and the arts are the fabric of community wellbeing, helping us to stay connected and resilient. Over the years, I've written and secured grants that have turned local ideas into meaningful outcomes that really make a difference. As a wildlife carer previously with fauna and environmental advocate, I'm committed to protecting our region's biodiversity and sustainability for future generations.
Amanda, one more sentence.
Okay, I also honour and work alongside the Wadandi Pibbleman peoples, acknowledging them as the First Nations custodians of this land, and I'll ensure their voices are represented in decision making.
Thank you very much. So, We have a bit of a treat for you for a last question. Ladies, are we going to send this to all candidates? Excellent. So this one is not going to tic-tac between candidates. This is for all candidates. What is the question?
Local government often requires working with people who have very different views. How do you approach collaboration and compromise with those that you fundamentally disagree with? And can you share an example? So to summarise, how do you plan to work with people who fundamentally disagree with your views?
Okay, no tic-tacking this time. We'll start from here and we'll go clockwise around. Lisa McCusker, working with difficult people.
Well, that's pretty easy because, you know, with a legal background, you're always working with difficult people and everyone disagrees. That's your job, to basically advocate for one side or the other. So, you know, and I don't think you want to call people difficult, you know, just because someone actually has a different point of view to your own. I don't think that's being difficult. I think I welcome debate. I like to hear other people's perspectives. I've spoken to a friend who's on council and she said she's gone into council meetings thinking she knows what she's going to say and she's ended up deciding something quite different, and I would hope that I would definitely want to have that ability to change my mind after listening to people. I've recently completed a mediation accreditation course, so I think I'm pretty good also at just mediating between people who have really different points of view. So yeah, I don't think I would actually have a problem with it at all. I'd welcome it.
Thank you. Lisa Bell, difficult people.
That was a very good answer. Difficult to back that up. I think it entering into it with curiosity and to try and understand other people's perspective, because even if a position may seem irrational, there's always a reason that people are coming from that position. So I think coming to those interactions with respect and curiosity, and trying to meet common ground with other people. Yeah, I don't know, and examples. It feels like a job interview. It's really quite obscure. Look, working as a town planner for state government for 15 years, I was constantly dealing with different views of the community. So it really comes down to, listening, trying to get feedback, meaningful feedback, listening to what people say, and then making your decisions on the balance of everything.
Thank you. It is a little bit like a job interview, isn't it? Yeah. Pam.
That was a really good answer, Lisa's. But anyway, for me, it's reflection for me. So back in my corporate training days, I undertook some, team development accreditation, and I do often find myself dropping back into thinking about how to manage different people's communication styles and perspectives. So I think the best thing for me is to reflect going into any situation that everyone's going to be passionate about their point of view, and just bring active listening skills and open-mindedness to any lively discussion. Explore examples. Well, I know, I live and work with my husband. There's no getting away from different points of view. at any time of the day. So we're still here. We've done 25 years in seasonal ecotourism, dealing with vessel handovers on a daily basis, so dealing with the general public, and we're still speaking to each other.
And as a husband, I don't take that personally. Greg, working with difficult people.
Was the question that, or was it more different opinions?
It was more different opinions, but I like the art take, Rob.
No, it's all right. No,
How do you plan to work with people who fundamentally disagree with your views?
Yeah. Front of mind at the moment is the Safer Speeds trial, because being on the campaign trail, I've had a lot of feedback. Julian brought it up the other night, and I did respond the other night about it, that I inherited it because it's been quite a few years in the process. But then, just like Tracy said, we voted, we signed it off, so I can't absolve myself completely from responsibility for it. But it's a really good example of how a very well-intentioned project can have some adverse consequences. And I've been getting quite a lot of negative feedback, but it's been mixed. So it's a bit where to from here, really. But I'm taking on board that feedback. I've already fed back to the CEO and the Shire President that this is, the hottest topic at the moment. And I also mentioned the other night that I'd also spoken to the RAC because they're heavily involved. I think it's going to be a matter of further consultation. I did say the other night, and I did research it even before I went down there the other night because it was such a hot topic, that people can feedback now, and then there's a 12-month review. But I think it's going to be a matter of really consulting widely with the community from here on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to point out that any mistakes made tonight are solely my own and not any of the staff that are supporting me. Julian, different opinions and working with different opinions.
Yeah, you have to be able to be flexible and accept other people's opinions. It's very much part of the whole debate. And, me and Trace across there, we disagree on things and we agree on other things. So you can't sort of get stuck or fixated on particular things. And I think as a councillor, when it comes to the vote, you can put forward, your opinions and your arguments, but there are going to be times when you'll be outvoted and you'll be shouted down, and you have to actually be able to accept that without getting angry. And it sort of leads into the whole narrowbutt debate. So for me, that's very relevant because I'm a surfer, and my local surf break is actually Grunters, which is right smack bang where the development's going to happen. And so I would argue vehemently against the development, and I'd even go as far as to say it never should have got to this, because there was a time when the Shire could have bought the land. And that's when it comes down to planning and getting it right, because the mistakes that get made at an executive level lead on down the track, and they end up costing all of us ratepayers in time, effort, money, and argument. So it's really about being able to compromise and work out a solution as best we can.
Thank you. Tracy, your response.
Thank you. I really appreciate what everyone's offered to it. I think there's a lot there with different opinions. I think the first step is to really listen and hear what's underneath as well. Sometimes how people communicate their message, there's a lot of perhaps fear about losing something or concern. So really understanding what's underneath it. And something I've found useful is to try and take my own ego out of it, to not be worrying about trying to put forward what I think is right or correct, but leave myself out of it and just listen and hear and see and be curious and try and think, well, is there something to this that I haven't seen before? And I found that helpful because sometimes there's a broader context that I haven't considered. So I'm not always going to hold to a particular viewpoint, particularly around, pretty much every council meeting, there's going to be different opinions. So I think it's really about trying to be open-minded and curious and not ego-driven.
Thank you. Maxine.
Pretty much everybody has said what I was going to say. But I guess I live with this daily. I have a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old. So you can imagine the diversion in my house. But I always tell my kids, and I like to think that I reflect what I would give to them. And I'm a big believer of treat others how you would like to be treated. So by standing at somebody and shouting at them what you feel is necessary, it's sometimes better to take a step back and just talk nicely, express your views, and hear what other people have to say. So here I am.
Thank you. Alex.
Well, I work with people every day now. Having a team between all our businesses are on average 100 people. So I've got a big management team, and they all have different opinion about how to do things, you know. And when I go into meetings, I just go with an open mind. I present what's the goal and let them talk. And then, you know, it's active listening, and then as long as we work towards that common goal, then, you know, it's important that you respect what other people, how other people will get to that goal. It's not necessarily the same way that I would get it, but at the end of the day, if the majority thinks that's the best way to go about it and tick the box, tick the box. Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
Okie dokie. I'd say my entire recruitment career was dealing with people with differing opinions, usually revolving around candidates who thought they should be paid 20% more than market rate and clients who wanted to pay those same candidates about 20% less than market rate, and me having to bridge that gap and find solutions. I have a million examples in that world. But more recently, I had an interesting experience going down to Augusta and talking to people about the Scott River wind farm, which I kind of have my own ideology about. I'm all for clean energy and new technologies that are good for the environment. But I found I got into discussions with people down there. You had to sort of put your own ideology aside and sort of accept a different perspective. It was a slightly challenging feeling to find myself agreeing with them on a lot of stuff that I never maybe thought I would. And I think that's a big part of this job, and a big part of accepting other opinions. As Tracy alluded to, putting your own stuff aside and just really listening and understanding and accepting that perhaps you're not always going to be right, even though you might be passionate and have a strong opinion, because I know I do. But it's been a little bit eye-opening going through this process and speaking to people with different perspectives.
Thanks, Joe. Mike?
Yeah, just trying to see their point, I guess, or where they're coming from. You'll obviously have your ideas on something, but trying to just stand in their shoes and figure out why they are saying what they're saying. I really like the curiosity statement that everyone's talked about. I think that's a great way to go into it. And being open. So Joe talked about, you know, as you learn something about a project, it might change your views a little bit of what you might have previously thought. So definitely being open to the new information and hearing different ideas.
Thank you. Amanda?
I've actually done a short course in responding to difficult situations or opinions, and I've also done an accidental counsellor course, which led by Anglicare, which also helps you to learn how to listen. And one of the best responses I think I have learned in those situations is to respond to a situation after listening, being able to respond to the situation with the words that the other person may be feeding back to you. So in other words, being able to repeat in a way, in a calm fashion, the other opinion or the other situation, so that you know that they understand you've heard, because listening is really important. But we don't always show active listening. So one way to show active listening is to repeat back or to email back. And now we had a little situation in Augusta where a gentleman, we couldn't as candidates respond to a gentleman's question, and it was getting quite difficult for us to be able to respond because he'd brought it up the Chamber of Commerce also, and he felt like he wasn't being heard. So immediately I said, yes, I saw you at the Chamber of Commerce. So I was reiterating to him that he had been seen. And I then flipped back and said, I understand what you're saying and it must be very difficult. And then we handed it over to the Shire, who is actually capable of answering the question. So being able to find a way forward in a difficult situation. When it comes to opinions, yes, similar, stop and listen, but show the other person that you've heard them.
Thank you, Amanda. We've almost reached the amount of time we've allocated for this. I've been really impressed with all the opinions that have come out from the candidates. We've covered a wide range of issues. To wrap things up tonight, I'm going to give all the candidates literally just 1 minute to close off, maybe say something about a question you weren't asked. Also, if you feel you've expressed yourself adequately in all the discussions that we've had, it's okay to say, I've said all that I need to say, see you at the ballot box. But we'll just go back around and just 1 final minute to close, please.
And we're just going to old school timer this, guys. So if I put my hand up, you've got 10 seconds left. Start counting down. You've got 5. Okay?
Amanda, yeah, we'll go back the other way.
Just on a couple of questions that I didn't get the opportunity to answer. My opinion of the safe speed trial has highlighted the importance of voting for me. Communication from the council and the Shire through to the residents, and then the residents also having their say back. It seems that this was put to consultation and yet only a small number of the residents voted, and of that we've now got a trial that seems to be quite contentious in the area, but yet we all had the choice to vote on this. So therefore, let's get active and let's get voting. The importance of restoration for the heritage listed buildings. Crikey Moses. I'm never going to finish.
You'll
Finally,
get a chance to respond in writing like all candidates.
I will do that.
Yep.
Finally, I believe in strong advocacy matters. I'll work with state and federal governments to make sure the Shire of Augusta Margaret River's vision and character are respected and upheld in every decision that affects us.
Thank you. Mike, is there any final statements for you?
Yeah, I guess there's a few different things going on in the community with lots of strong opinions, and I'm just wondering how can we get everyone back together or not be so polarising, whether you like something or you're against something, and it feels like it's splitting a bit, and I don't think that's a great thing that we're doing around these things. Getting back to listening to different people as well, which maybe follows on from that. We need to listen to everyone, but we also need to listen to best practice. We need to listen to science. Don't just listen to the loudest voice just because you're seeing stuff everywhere about something. I don't think we need to go down that path either. So, yeah, I guess that a bit comes back to getting to community as well. So that's probably a big thing for me. Thanks.
Thank you. Joe, anything to finish with?
I've said plenty. Basically, I was a professional problem solver. My phone's always on if you want to ask me any questions before you vote. I no longer work full-time, so I have time, energy and passion for this role. Vote one Joe.
Alex?
Well, I just would like to see a more open-minded and flexible Shire going forward, and one that listens, adapts, and helps people turning good idea into action. So if you have any question, feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you. Maxine?
There are a lot of people in our community who will always come to me and say, I have a problem. And, you know, you kind of get on that unhabitable, what was it, the counsellor where you're not really a counsellor, but accidental counsellor. Sorry, I'm losing my words. I always say to those people, and what have you done to kind of maybe make this better instead of putting it onto someone else? It was mentioned tonight about the short stay problem that the Shire seems to be having. It impacts my business. So I am a knowledge person. I don't watch Netflix. I like to go and arm myself with all the information. I joined the Short-Term Accommodation Association of Australia. I sit on their board, and Margaret River, Augusta Shire is actually leading the way in this space, and there are other councils on the Eastern Seaboard that are actually looking at what we're doing. So what we're doing is actually very positive in that space, and there's lots going on. So there you go.
Thank you. Tracy?
Thank you for this opportunity. I guess I really do care about this region and this place, and I have had experience, as I've mentioned. One of the key things that I'm really proud of that I've done on council is lead the development of the biodiversity strategy, and I think that will ensure, hopefully, that our endemic species are protected into the long term. So I'm committed to doing projects like that and advocating. A lot of these issues that are divisive in our community are being pushed from the state government, and we don't have the opportunity to actually make comment on them even. And I think it's important that we do come together, as Mike said, and ensure that our voices are heard, and that's why I believe in the advocacy committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Julian?
Thanks for coming in, everyone, and thanks for having us, and also thanks to all the other candidates. I sort of feel that, having met everyone, I think everyone that's sitting here with me will be a good councillor. I'm hoping that I get elected and I can represent the Shire and definitely represent the local community in the various issues that are affecting us. And like the other guys, I'm available all the time to be approached and willing to listen and help. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg?
Thanks. Yeah, just one thing Julian said really made me reflect on what you'd need to do as a councillor, and that was about the road out of Rapids, and share your frustration. But what happened there was the WAPC left us with that subdivision outcome, and that road isn't something that we, or even you, with your mates and your bulldozer, can go and do anything about. But you need to learn from those things, and that made me think about one thing that came up at our last council meeting, which is that there's a structure plan, a new structure plan for the Wirring Road development in Quarramup, and they're eliminating the road out onto Wirring, which I think will lead to some traffic problems. But you learn from that, and you advocate that you don't eliminate that road, because you won't end up, you'll get the same problem. So, so I like to listen, learn, and then put that into practice, problem solve, and I'd like to keep doing that. So thank everyone for coming, and look forward to your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Pam?
Thanks very much for coming and giving us your time. And is that right? I think one of the reasons that I got involved with community radio, and also why I've decided to stand, is because there's this massive influx of new people and this fear of change of our community values, and wanting to grow our community's spirit to include all of the aspects and the mosaic of our community. I think issues like the short stay and Airbnb issue, also the Scott River Wind Farm, and also the Narrabut Resort issue are indications of us feeling overwhelmed with decisions are taken out of our hands, and that you've got to use your voice to lose your voice or use it. Do you know what I mean? The price of living in paradise is vigilance.
Thank you. Lisa Bell.
Thanks for coming, everyone. There was one question here that didn't get asked. What do you think the community needs right now? I think our community really needs very responsible planning and strong advocacy to manage this huge growth pressure that we are under. So that means transparent decision making, meaningful community engagement, and as Max said, consideration of best practice and the best science available. I think I've got the skills and experience and drive to assist with that. So that's why I'm running for council. And I think that a lot of everyone else around this table has similar, a lot of skills to offer. And yeah, hopefully we can get a really good run at it. Cheers.
Lisa McCusker.
Thanks, everyone. Excuse me. Sorry. All that listening. So I would just like to emphasise that I'm a long-term member of this community. My kids did swimming lessons at in Gracetown. My son was a member of the Coromuk Board Riders. So I've been part of this community for a long time, even though I've only moved permanently to Gracetown a year ago. And then I'd also just like to emphasise that it's a long-term passion of mine. I did a Masters of Law, specialising in environmental and planning law. I feel like I bring special skills relating to those areas and also advocacy. Thanks.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our time together tonight, but I want to ask two more things of the room. I think it takes a lot of courage to put yourself up for council and to come here tonight. I think I'd be very grateful to you if we gave these people a round of applause for everything they've done so far. But it's equally true that you could have been at home tonight, if not watching Netflix, perhaps listening to Taylor Swift's new album. So, candidates, could we give the citizens a round of applause? But you've also seen, hopefully, tonight, the professionalism which some of the staff here have conducted themselves with. If you get on council, candidates, you will closely interact with the ladies you see around me, and particularly with our CEO. We do not move without her permission, and anything good that has come out of tonight is initiated by her. So the final thing I'd like you to do, because we are a council which is constantly trying to improve ourselves, is we have a very short survey here, one for the candidates, one for the attendees. Could you please fill it out before you leave? Thank you very much, everyone.